So if I believe that I'm not good enough, but I am facing the not good enough, right? If that's all I can see, so I'm not going to take those actions that are going to get me facing in the other direction towards what I want. But if we can change that to I'm not good enough yet, then I'm no longer facing the problem, but rather I'm facing in the other direction, because me saying I'm not good enough yet, what that is it presupposes that I will be.
All right, welcome everyone to the DJ Seelids Business Podcast. I'm your host, Charlie Little, aka DJ Seelids, and today on the show we've got Vered Kogan, who is an executive coach, keynote speaker, mindset expert, and so she helps a lot of individuals, overcome their limiting beliefs. She's also like a hypnotherapist, so she understands psychology super well, and just help people get the most out of life, the most out of their career and business. So welcome to the show. It's good to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. I'm excited.
Yeah, so I'm super excited to have you too, just because of how much what you do is similar to what my podcast is about, just all that mindset and helping people. So that's super cool. So can you kind of tell us, how did you get started? What's your background? You used to be an engineer. Is that true?
Yes. Feels like several lifetimes ago. Yes. I started out as a civil engineer. Didn't stay there for very long because I realized very quickly that it wasn't the right path for me.
Okay.
I went in that direction, like many other people do, following the footsteps of people in our life. So my father was an engineer, and I have a few uncles that are engineers, so it just felt like the right thing.
And you liked them, you kind of looked up to them, is that kind of why?
Exactly.
Okay.
And when it was time to decide, hey, what am I going to do in college? I was thinking psychology or maybe pre-med or that. And my dad said, I think you should be an engineer. And I said, okay. And that's exactly how it happened. So, but life has this way of, no matter where we start out, we just kind of have a way of finding the right path for us when we are alert enough, awake enough, conscious enough to notice how we feel. Because if we're not feeling right, like I didn't in that job, I was working as a structural engineer at a jet engine company called Pratt & Whitney, Pratt & Whitney Canada, and loved working with the assemblers, loved some aspects of the work, but really didn't love the technical component of the job. And so I decided to leave that fairly quickly, went and got an MBA. And
so how long did that last before you left?
1 year.
Oh, it was just 1 year?
I knew very quickly it wasn't a good fit. And I think that's the biggest blessing, is to, like I said, really just know. Now, I didn't know back then what I know now about the brain and so on, but I did know that it didn't feel right. And I knew that I had options. I could go back to school. I could find a way to be even happier. Mm-hmm. And so I gave myself permission to do that.
That's an awesome skill. Some people, they feel so self-conscious about it, they don't want to change jobs and they're not really aware of themselves. So that's cool that you're able to do that.
Yeah, a lot of people allow that fear to stop them. Now, it's natural to feel fear. I felt afraid. As I think back, I didn't know what would be. But I knew that in my case, the choice of going back to school, that it would open up more doors. I didn't quite know what I would do. I had no idea what I would do. Would I become an accountant? Would I study finance? What would I do? I had no idea.
All right. So one of the questions I had is, what does a typical day look like for you? And I'm really interested in the speaking too. So you're a speaker as well as a coach. And so most of the time, what does that look like? Mm-hmm. You doing both in the same day? Are you traveling? What kind of things?
Sometimes both in the same day, but typically I don't schedule coaching calls on days when I speak. I like to use the extra time that I have. If it's a morning session, I'll use the afternoon, especially while I'm traveling, to kind of catch up on stuff, emails, all those good things. But sometimes I do. Sometimes I'll travel for more than one day, and I'll fit in my coaching clients, because a lot of it is by phone or by Zoom. Okay. And so thankfully I can do that from anywhere. And so a typical day, there is no typical day. When you asked it, I went, wow, how cool is it that there is no typical day? Every day is different. It really is, and I love that. So of course I have my morning rituals in the morning, and those do stay consistent. So every morning when I wake up, as soon as I wake up, when my mind is more suggestible, I immediately ask myself, what am I grateful for? And I don't even these days officially have to ask myself.
Do you have an alarm clock? Is there a certain time you wake up?
I do wake up with an alarm clock because I love to sleep, so otherwise I'd probably sleep in too much. So when I wake up, actually typically differs on when I kind of start the day. So on days when there's school, so not on a day like today, I'll wake up, of course, even earlier, like usually around 6 o'clock so that I can get in, a workout and do the rituals that I love to do and still get to be with my youngest and my husband as they're kind of eating breakfast and doing that, so I get to see them. But there are certain rituals. So as soon as I wake up, I focus on something I'm grateful for because I want to kind of raise my frequency. I do a quick coherence. Would you like me to show you what that is real fast?
I would love to, yes.
Okay, this is a simple technique, deceptively simple technique because it's very powerful. And it is a technique out of the Institute of Heart Math. So if you go on heartmath.com, so heart, like the physical heart, math, like mathematics, heartmath.org, then you can access all of the research. I'm a trainer with the Institute of Heart Math. So I go out to organizations and I teach people how to be more resilient, how to get into that state where they can be more focused, more healthy, more productive, and better able to access their intuition. And this is an institute that studies that state of optimal performance.
Okay.
The state of health, the state of energetic harmony in our body. And what they found out is through this simple technique, we can allow ourselves to become even more coherent and allow all the different parts of our mind and body to communicate with each other in a healthy, cohesive way so that we can get a different heart rate variability pattern traveling from our heart up to our head brain and be able to be more focused, more productive, and make better decisions. So it's
I like those things. I want this.
Awesome. So I always start with kind of asking, there are only officially 2 steps to the technique, but I'm going to add a couple of steps even before those. And so I always start by saying, okay, what emotions am I feeling right now? So you can do this in your own mind right now. Just ask yourself, what emotions am I feeling right now? Just go ahead and label them. Okay. And ask yourself, what do I want to feel? It might be the same. Maybe to sustain where you are. It might be to shift and become even more positive or more energized, whatever that might be for you. Good. So now you've kind of given the instruction to your unconscious mind of what you want. So now we start with the technique. Go ahead and just focus your attention in the area of your heart. That's right. I want you to just pretend or imagine that your breath is flowing in and out of your heart or chest area. That's right. Breathing a little slower and deeper than you normally do. Allowing yourself to get into a nice, comfortable rhythm. Good. And as you continue to breathe in and out of your heart, make a sincere attempt to experience a regenerative feeling, such as appreciation or care for someone or something in your life. Maybe re-experiencing a moment of love or a time when you felt really happy. A happy moment, an accomplishment. That's right, or even just a feeling of calm and ease. That's right, and just notice what subtle shifts, if any, have kind of happened inside of you right now. Just notice what you notice. What, if anything, is different now?
You want me to tell you how I feel?
Yeah.
I couldn't tell when you were saying some of that. I was like, but yeah, so a little more peaceful, a little more relaxed. I think a lot of times, especially when there's like something coming up, you're always a little more anxious about it. You're just kind of on edge. But when you kind of realize some of those things, and like I did, it's just you're a little more relaxed. You're calm. You realize what you're grateful for, what your peak state is, and so yeah, it's just relaxing. Just a good reminder of having a good perspective. What's important.
Thank you for sharing that. And as you did that, what you've done is you've synchronized your autonomic nervous system, which is really cool. This part of you that kind of runs your body, digests your food and breathes for you and all these things. And also you've gotten some good hormones into your body, like DHEA, vitality hormone, that just make you feel really good. And then
Sweet.
And you're able to process things better and be more creative and access your intuition and focus and be more productive and, like I said, make better decisions that ultimately lead to better results. So it's really just, what emotions am I feeling right now? What do I want to feel? Do that heart-focused breathing, by breathing in and out of your heart. That's right. A little slower and deeper than usual. And then recreating that regenerative feeling that good feeling in our heart. So not just thinking appreciation, but actually feeling appreciation. Maybe even imagining we're right back at that happy moment in our life and just seeing what we saw, hearing what we heard, and re-experiencing it again. Because for our mind, when we imagine being back at a time when we felt really good, for our mind it's like we're actually there. And so we get those good hormones again. So it's that simple, just like that. In under a minute, we can shift our state. So whether we are in career transition or in any life transition or just going through a hard time, anytime we feel anything that doesn't feel good, we just pause. What am I feeling? What do I want to feel? Heart-focused breathing and re-experiencing that regenerative feeling. Anytime we do that, we're shifting our state neurologically, physiologically, and basically helping ourselves to get more clear, to access the ideas that are going to get us closer to feeling even better.
Awesome. Is it important where you do it? Can you be laying down or sitting?
You can be laying down, sitting down. It's different than meditation because it's not mindfulness. You can do it while you're driving. You can do it with your eyes closed. Yeah,
really?
It's just synchronizing yourself. I do it literally sometimes over dinner when I'm with a client. I start every coaching conversation with a quick coherence because, and we also know from research that when executives, when they start meetings, or anybody, if they start a meeting, if it's a family meeting or any kind of engagement, when everybody's coherent, so even just everybody doing a quick coherence, would create that coherent field environment. And research shows that meetings can be cut in half. Meeting times can be cut in half. It's pretty awesome because it's just everybody's more focused and more in their heart, more objective, less of that noise.
Yeah. That's awesome. So that's one of the things you do in the morning. What else? Or some of those rituals?
So I have a mind movie that I watch. Yeah. And in this mind movie, I have my goals. I write out all my goals. And I also have images and music that align with that. So there are certain things. So, I'll say it is a certain date and I have achieved this and I feel, amazing, whatever it is. Because the idea is we want to feel those feelings. And when I can practice feeling those feelings, right, of whatever it is that I want, whether it's the new job, the new relationship, the health, whatever it is that I want, if I can feel like I've already got it, then I'm actually priming my body to believe it's already happened. And when it's already happened, I don't feel that old anxiety or doubt or worry or anything around that because I'm literally wiring my body through repetition to know it's already happened. So I release all of that inner resistance to the change. So I do that every single day. Yeah.
That's awesome. And that goes with the visualization.
Correct.
And like you were saying, once you visualize it over and over again, it becomes recognizable in your subconscious.
Correct. Exactly. So you don't have to have a mind movie or something like that. You can literally just, tell yourself what you want and then imagine being there. And what I do sometimes is as I'm imagining, I kind of imagine after I kind of see and hear and feel that moment when I know I got it with that limitation, what I do is I just imagine then, that future me in that moment where I know I got it, right? Whatever it is that I want. I just imagine it in this kind of pink balloon. And I got that out of a book, and it's a really nice idea to just imagine it in this kind of balloon. Actually, for that matter, any color that you want. I chose pink because that just makes me feel good. And and imagine that just floating away and just releasing any attachment to that, right? Knowing that the universe, our unconscious mind, whatever you want to call it, will bring back what you want in the highest and best way for you. So it's kind of releasing the resistance and just knowing, trusting that will come back. The ideas, the actions, the behaviors will come back to us in a way that will be the best and highest for us. So it might not be by that perfect date that we want, or that person, that thing, that job might not look exactly like we think we want it to look, but to trust that it's going to come back, just to surrender, if you will. But keep doing the practices. Keep wiring our body, doing the coherence, visualizing, doing the gratitude, so that we're priming our body for the change.
Have you read Think and Grow Rich, the book?
7 times.
You've read it 7 times?
I just reread it over in Jamaica in December, and I reread it for the 7th time. Yes.
That's awesome. I just read it for the first time recently.
Brilliant. Good job.
Thanks. But yeah, it kind of opened my mind to how mental it is. Think and grow rich. And also the power of visualization, as Napoleon Hill describes. That's right. Once you believe it's possible, and then I think the important part that people forget is the plan of action.
Yes.
Actually, figuring out how you're going to do this. Correct. You can say, I want to make $1 million, but what does that look like? What is that going to entail? Correct. What do you need to do? Correct.
Now, a lot of people get stuck because they don't know the how. But here's the thing. What we know from science, again, when you're more coherent, when you release the resistance to the change, those old beliefs, that you will get the idea of the how, right? Those ideas will come to you. Ooh, I should go and meet that person. I should pick up the phone. I should read that book, right? The thing will just come into your awareness. And so we just need to know the next right step. And of course, making sure that energetically we're giving to the world, right? That we're not harming in any way, of course, because it's all about helping other people. So when we know just the next right step where we can do something that feels right, but we're also contributing in some way to other people, then we'll get even more of the hows. The path will become aware. We just need to know the next right step. That's all. But we do need to be clear on what the ultimate kind of destination is. And if we don't even know the title of the job or something like that yet, that's okay. Just ask yourself, how do I want to feel? Just that energetic signature. How do I want to feel? Okay, I'm going to feel free. I'm going to feel excited. I'm going to feel, passionate, whatever that is. And that's what you want to practice every day, right? Is tuning into that feeling. And as you do that, more of the ideas of how to access that in this 3D reality will come to you. But the idea is it's always knowing what it is that you want, certainly how it is that you want to feel, and believing that it's possible. And believing it's possible is just a process of repetition. So visualizing, telling myself, I am a speaker, right? And I did that when I read Think and Grow Rich for the first time. Oh my goodness, a few years ago, I don't even know how many years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, we were in San Diego on vacation, our family, I remember that. And
you like reading on vacation?
Yes, because that's when I can do it without interruption. I can just go deep and just, devour a book in a couple days. And I just got as far as even reading, if you may remember, I don't remember if it's 2 or 3 sections in, where he kind of has the plan, if you will, wake up in the morning, as soon as you wake up, kind of like what I do right now, right? And right before you fall asleep, access how it is that you want to feel, right? Imagine already being there and so on. And I did that. And one of the things that I said is, that I am a professional speaker. I'm getting paid highly for what I do. And I kid you not, within less than a month, I come back and I remember getting a phone call, or it was a voicemail message from my mentor, Joel Weldon, who's a Hall of Fame professional speaker. Mm-hmm. He's the mentor at my Toastmasters Club. And on his message, he said, Vered, how did he say it? He said something like, you are one of 2 people that I know that speak so clearly. You've got to go to the National Speaker Association. Come, I'll introduce you. You've got to speak more. You've got this. You're better than 10,000 people that I coach. He's coached over 10,000 people. Wow. And he was like, and I literally remember saying to him, Joel, I just read this book called Think and Grow Rich. And he kind of chuckled. And that's because for him, what shifted his whole career and his belief in himself is when he listened to a recording by Earl Nightingale. I forget the exact name, but something about the secret of something, and it was absolutely transformational for him. In fact, I invite your listeners, and others to listen to that, because it's from, I don't know, it's ancient. It's from the 30s or 40s, maybe, I don't know, 50s, but it still holds true today. And it is really about the power of thought. And that book could have been called Think and Grow to Become a Better Parent, Think and Grow to Become a happy person, a healthy person.
Right.
It's not about, of course, the money. It's the whatever you want is available to you at any moment when you know what it is that you want, certainly how it is that you want to feel, and when you believe it is possible. Because when you have those 2 things, then you get the intuitive ideas that will bring you the plan. And when you have the plan and you feel good because you believe it's possible, then you find a way to make it happen. Right? You access the ideas, you take those steps, you're persistent, and when you hit some failure, which of course we all do, some setbacks, that's part of change, then you get up and you continue because you believe it's possible. But you've got to first get your body ready for the change. Most people start by taking action, right? Mm-hmm. Sending out 1,000 job applications and all that, often before they really know what they want or before they really believe that they can. Some of them believe I'm not good enough, I'm not credentialed enough, experienced enough, you name it, right? We all have that stuff. It's universal. And so the idea is to practice first being there in the future, right? Giving gratitude for that, and then you'll get the ideas that'll help you to be like, oh yeah, you should apply for that job. Ooh, I've not considered this thing before, right? That looks like fun. Mm-hmm. That's how that happens. So first we want to get ourselves ready emotionally, mentally, and then the ideas will come that'll lead to the strategies and of course the action, because we have to take tons of action to get what we want, but we want to make sure that the action feels good.
Awesome. Yeah, and I like how you said the next best thing, because I think a lot of people have this misconception you need to have everything figured out, or some people think they have everything figured out, and those people in the long term really don't. And yeah, it's okay sometimes just to do the next right thing, keep on going forward.
That's
and
right.
That's kind of what career paths look like.
Always tune in to how am I feeling right now, and anytime you're not feeling good, right, just kind of do the quick coherence, right? Get coherent again. And then you can even ask your unconscious mind, what's an even more effective solution to this problem? What's a more, efficient way to kind of, get the clarity? But you first want to get coherent before you ask yourself, and the answer will come. It always does. It might come in that moment. It might come in the shower the next day, or out, when you're out for a walk. It'll come.
Yeah.
And it'll feel real good when it does.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's super important. Also, because I think a lot of people are actually hard workers. They've got a good work ethic, and they're working hard on whatever they're doing. But in the big picture, they're not doing what makes them feel good, what they want to do. And so it's really important to take that step back and realize, well, I don't want to go this direction. I want to go in this direction.
Correct.
And instead of doing this work that's not going to be important when you make this big shift, to make those shifts first.
Well, I would say first get yourself ready for the shifts before you quit a job or go, jump to the next thing. Because what happens is if you do that, then you're going to create a whole other form of stress. And you're going to get incoherent again. Yeah. So you want to make sure first to find a way to appreciate and be happy exactly where you are. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Like give appreciation for the bits of it that you do find enjoyable, or maybe that are serving you in some way, even if they're just serving you to get clear on what you actually do want, right? Even if it's just to know what you don't want, so you know what you do want. And when you give thanks to that, and at the same time every day, as soon as you wake up and right before you fall asleep, do the gratitude, do the coherence, visualize what it is that you want to feel, how you want to be with people, what kind of things you love doing, right? Even the little bit that you do know, even if you don't yet know exactly, but just the parts that you do know, and just allow yourself to just feel that. And as you do that for about 21 days, 30 days after a month, you start to just feel more positive and feel even more appreciation for where you are, and then you'll start accessing ideas about what you can do to shift.
Awesome.
But most people just like, okay, this is not good, so they repress those emotions and they jump, and then they don't realize they're just recreating the same pattern because they haven't dealt with the energetic pattern that led to that last job. So they're going to find themselves in a different organization, maybe different industry, maybe different title, but recreating those same emotions because there's an emotional addiction to it. So you first want to prime your body, prime your mind for the change. Feel like you've already got it because you've visualized it enough times, right?
Mm-hmm.
And only then make that change. When you're not running away from something, but rather you're moving towards something. Anytime you run away, when you're in a state of lack, all you're going to be doing is recreating that lack somewhere else. You want to make sure that you are feeling abundant and happy exactly where you are. And you can do this. The mind will let you do this no matter how terrible things might seem right now. You can do this, right? You have control of your mind and therefore your emotions, right? Just through that quick coherence, right? Anybody can find something to feel appreciative about, even if it has nothing to do with their job, right? So when they practice that enough, then they feel more positive. They fire more of those positivity reward neural networks in their brain, and they just start to feel better. And they don't really have to get that other job, but they really want to because they're eager for more. So rather than running away from the current reality, they are really excited about the future reality because they've tasted it and smelled it and touched it and felt it, right, so many times in their mind that they know it's possible for them.
And that's another thing in psychology in your brain. You can't just get rid of something or this bad emotion, this bad thought, bad habits even. You need to replace them with something else.
Correct. You need to reframe. The unconscious mind needs to know that you consciously got the positive learning. Yeah. So for example, when I mentioned this client that I worked right before we started today, we took her back through a hypnotic regression to the root cause of the problem, right? When she was 3, when she was 1, and even just as she was born. Yeah. And understanding is power. So we got her to understand what was the benefit, why that part of her created the problem, that in her case she didn't feel good enough to be paid for speaking or paid higher amounts for speaking. And then, only then, once we accept that energy, give that energy gratitude for protecting us all the time, right? It was just doing what at some point we asked it to do when we didn't know better, right? Then at that point, and only that, can we activate a new higher frequency emotion and create what it is that we want. As long as we shove it under the carpet, right, or behind the sofa or whatever, we're never going to be able to create a new future. We're just going to be recreating the past because our unconscious mind is going to say, you didn't get it yet, let's give you another chance. You didn't get it yet. So you got to get the learning, and only then can you move forward with more ease.
Yeah, and that's another thing I find interesting is the brain's kind of built for survival. It's pretty old, I don't think your brain was built for you to be a high achiever in all aspects of your life. There's kind of the rational and the irrational fears, and you need to kind of label them. Like you were saying, thank you for doing what you're doing, a rational fear, but here I'm trying to do something bigger here, and I can't let these things hold me back.
Correct.
And
when my client was just born, right? Again, this was under hypnosis, so she was more relaxed, so she was able to access that. She she noticed that there was tension, right? There was chaos, there were some noises, and she interpreted that in her little baby mind, newborn mind, she interpreted that to mean that there's something wrong with her, that she's not good enough, that she created that problem by being the center of attention. Fast forward when she was a year old, her first birthday, right? She's eating cake, but she's noticing that her mom is feeling really tense, and she interpreted that to mean that it was her fault because it was her birthday. She had caused that tension, right? Her being the center of attention caused problem to other people. Fast forward to when she was 3 years old, and she was with her parents at the beach and with her sister. And, as little girls, little kids do, right? She was trying to get attention, and, her parents told her, enough. Right, again, so she noticed that there was tension because she was being the center of attention. So she, as an adult, unconsciously held herself back from really being on stages and earning more and impacting more people, because some little part of her, right, was trying to protect her from causing chaos, from hurting other people.
Yeah.
So this wasn't a conscious thing. Consciously, of course, she wanted to be a spectacular speaker, which she is, and get out there and earn, more, and indirect response to the value that she's giving to people, but yet unconsciously she self-sabotaged. She held herself back. She was stuck for years. So yes, the unconscious mind's job is to run and preserve our bodies, to keep us safe, to keep us from harm, to keep us alive. But sometimes our unconscious mind just doesn't know how to help us. It got a program when we were little, and it's just holding on to it because it takes energy to change that program. So it's just reacting, replaying that tape over and over and over again until we get that understanding, and only then are we free to make different choices.
Awesome. And I think it's so cool with the job role you have. You're working with all these different executives, heads, high achievers in their different industries, different businesses. So what are some of the most common limiting beliefs you see that are holding these high achievers with lots of potential? What's holding them back? What's the most common thing you see?
Oh, every single one of us, including all the CEOs that I work with, they all have the I am not enough, right? Kind of like my client, right? In her case, I'm not good enough to be able to be paid highly for speaking, right? But there's other variations, right? So I'm not enough or good enough in some way. The other one is something is not available to me. So be it, right, again, so being paid highly is not available to me. It might be available to other people, but it's not available to me. Or this relationship is not available to me. Or this health, or whatever, this job, right? Whatever it is not available to me. The other thing that I see a lot is I'm not worthy. I'm not deserving. Yeah. A lot of people, I would say almost everybody, if not everybody, has that, right? I'm not worthy, I'm not deserving. Now again, this is not a conscious thing, because consciously we can think of 1,000 reasons why we are, but it's an unconscious thing. Yeah. Yeah. Like, for example, one of my clients who wants to become more visible and get out on a bigger platform, she, when she was also 3 actually, she was in sitting on the stairs, and her mom was on the phone, and again, as little kids do, she was trying to get attention, and her mom slapped her on the mouth and kind of shushed her, right? Because she was disturbing and the mother was on the phone. And so she created a program. She gave meaning to that experience, significance to that neutral experience, saying, I am not worthy of being heard. So now she's a leader, and she has held herself back from being really visible and really vocal because of that old belief. So until she shifted it, she wasn't able to really step into those bigger arenas.
Interesting. So they're able to overcome them from but how? From recognizing what they are and then just realizing that.
Correcting. Exactly. So first of all, getting clear on what it is that they want. How do they want to feel? What's the result? Because the unconscious mind always needs specificity, right? Because it's going to help you create what you want, but you got to tell it what you want. The other thing is that then you say, okay, so what are those worries, fears, doubts, right? So I want this thing, right? I want to become a highly paid speaker. I want to become more visible. I want this amazing, happy job, right? I want this awesome relationship or this health, but. And then you notice what follows the but, right? And those are all kind of the limiting beliefs. But I'm not whatever enough, or I tried before and it didn't work, or it takes too long, or whatever it is, right? We've got 1,001 excuses, but those reasons are the programs. So even if it doesn't make logical sense, if you feel that there's some resonance around what comes up, right? Like in her case, but I'm not good enough to be paid, highly, for example, in the client right before you came, then that is a program. That is a program that we need to deal with and change.
But there's usually some truth to it. Some of them are limiting, unreasonable, but if someone's saying, I'm not good enough, maybe that could mean, I actually need to get some more experience and more training, would you say?
So yes and no. So here's what it means. So if I believe that I'm not good enough, but I am facing the not good enough, right? If that's all I can see, then it's a fixed mindset. So I'm not going to take those actions that are going to get me facing in the other direction towards what I want. So it is limiting in the sense that maybe there's some truth to it, yes, but if we can change that to I'm not good enough yet, for example, then I'm no longer facing the problem and all my lack, but rather I'm facing in the other direction, because me saying I'm not good enough yet even, right? I'm not experienced in this yet, or I'm not a good speaker yet. Right? What that is it presupposes that I will be. And as soon as I say it will be, the reticular activating system part of my brain, this part of my brain that helps me to become incredibly acute at noticing things that align with my goals, will have to say, oh, you know what, you should join Toastmasters. Oh, you know what, you should talk to this person who's a professional speaker, or join the National Speaker Association, or take this course, or read this book.
Because those are the things that are going to get you closer to what you want to do.
But if I'm facing over here, I'm incoherent, and I will never be able to access the ideas, or at least take consistent action on those ideas that'll get me over there. I have to be facing over here. I have to be of the belief that it is possible and available for me. So it might be I'm not good enough yet, or it might be I am getting better and better every day. But notice again, you're not facing that way, right? Just notice even energetically as you say to yourself. I want you to kind of say to yourself in your mind, I'm not good enough. Notice how that feels. Mm-hmm. Okay? And then notice if you say, I'm not good enough yet.
It's totally different.
Yeah, or I'm getting better and better every day. Yeah?
Yeah.
It's just got a different feel to it, right? There's a lighter feeling because there's possibility. It's possible, it's available. It might not be here today in this 3D reality, but it's possible. And the moment we believe it's possible for us, that it's available for us, and that we are worthy of it, and that it's beneficial to us, then our brilliant, loving mind will give us all the ideas to be able to take those actions that actually get us closer to that.
That's awesome. I love that. I love how you described it. That really made it make sense for me. Mm-hmm. So it's important on focusing on where you want to go. And it also comes back to priming, because when you're not talking about the actions that are actually going to get you there, when you're just focusing, turning this way on, this is what I'm lacking, it's not going to help you at all. So one thing that I liked that makes sense to me is when you're biking, for example, and there's this big rock in the way, you don't want to hit it. When you look at the rock, you end up hitting it. Whenever I'm riding a skateboard or something like that, that's always a cool reminder to me. It's like, no, you focus on where you want to go. And when you look at where you want to go, that's where you end up.
Yeah, and more importantly, feeling like you've already gone there.
Sure, yeah.
So I'm a trainer of NLP, and when we do neuro-linguistic programming.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell us kind of what that is? I think a lot of people aren't.
Sure. It's a series of techniques and tools to help people to achieve an excellent state, to essentially reprogram their mind very quickly, very effectively, mm-hmm. to be able to step into the person they want to be. Okay. So it's shifting old patterns of thought and emotions. So then it's a series of techniques. So one of the things that we do in the master practitioner training is that we break boards.
Oh, with your hand?
Correct.
Wow.
Hand, and like a 1-inch board. Now, the way that we do that is by training the students to not focus on the board, but rather to focus on the space underneath it, to see through the board, like they're already like in that space. And when they do that, it's a piece of cake, and the board just cracks in half just like that. And there's no pain, there's nothing, it's easy.
Right, because otherwise you're stopping at the board. I mean, even physically, you're not even thinking about...
Correct. Because you create what you believe. So if I believe the board's in my way, it's going to be in my way. If I believe I can, because I've experienced the feeling of how good it feels to already have done that, right? When I can see the few inches underneath it and just kind of feel my hand go right through, my body will help me, just like the placebo effect, to recreate that. to make that happen.
And I'm sure you heard of this study about these basketball players, these different groups, and one of them was told to, I think they each had an hour. For an hour, go practice free throws, and the other group was staying in the locker room with no basketballs, and they were just supposed to visualize sinking free throws.
Exactly, that's the key. Sinking successfully every time. That's the key.
Right, and which group did better, was able to score more free throws? Actually, the group that visualized them. Didn't practice.
Because they created that neural circuitry, and they got those good emotions, because when it went in, they got that boost of dopamine and all those good emotions in their body, so their body was primed for it. It's already happened.
Right. Yeah, I love that. Another question I had for you, so you're a mother, you have a family, so kind of what's your experience? How have you been able to balance this ambitious career in business, being a speaker, with being a mother and engaged in your family?
Yeah. Honestly, it's a moment-by-moment decision, moment-by-moment tuning. So some days, like this weekend, I really didn't do much work because I, invested in really reconnecting and, kind of putting, not money, if you will, but, time, attention, love into that bank. Because the previous weekend I was away, next weekend I'll be away again. And so, it's really just being present as much as you can. It's not necessarily quantity. Plus my girls are a little bit older now, so I'm able to do things that, I was not as able to do when they were younger, because they were not as independent. They needed me more. So of course things shift with time. Not that it's not possible when they're younger, we just need more help. That's all, But I think what really helps me is just to be present with my husband, with my daughters, with other people in my life, my friends. And even if I can't give a huge amount of time, to be really present when I am with them, the little moments. It doesn't have to mean that we're going out on a date and having a lunch or a dinner to connect. It could be, a few moments, before bed, or a few moments when we're just sitting, hanging out in the kitchen. It's quality and presence and radiating that love. And they feel it. They feel it, because when I project that out, that actually, my electromagnetic field, what I'm projecting that's radiating through this field, is actually being accepted by their unconscious mind, by their field, and they're able to feel that and sync up with that.
I love that. Yeah, quality over quantity.
Correct. Yeah. And quantity is great too. So when there is quantity, or when we go on vacation or weekends like this, there's plenty of quantity, but it's it's a process, and it's cyclical, and that's okay, right? Knowing that that's okay, right? And not to judge ourselves because we didn't have, time today for something, but at the same time, my kids are always a priority, and they know that. Even if I have a speaking engagement or something big the next day, they know that when they need me, they'll come to me. And when they do, like this weekend, I was helping one of my daughters with scholarship application, another one with the NJHS application. I do that, and I enjoy it. And they know that whenever they need me, I'm there for them. But it's a constant moment-by-moment choice. And are there days where I feel like I could be more, do more? Of course. But am I harsh with myself like I used to be years ago, and judging myself? And not so much, because I know that I'm doing the best that I can at any moment. So am I Mother of the Year award every day? I honestly think my girls would probably say yes, because of the feedback they've given me. But would I say I'm the Mother of the Year? No. But I'm doing my best.
That's awesome.
That's all I can do.
I love that. And I think that's what a lot of people get hung up on, is the judging themselves. And oftentimes comparing to other people, where it really is the little things, the quality you put in there. Do you love them? Are you giving them your full attention when you can? You don't necessarily need to be home at 5 p.m. every day, for example. But yeah, just that ability to forgive yourself and saying that you're doing your best that you can.
Correct. And not being judgmental of myself or of them, even when I'm with them. Just to be present, not to judge what you're saying. The old me would have been like, oh, you need to do this, and you need to, I'm different now. And I have more ease. I trust more. I know that they'll be exactly where they need to be. And you know what? If they stumble, that's good too, because they'll learn from that. Remember, any failure or setback is just an opportunity to get more clear about what you want and have more energy to create that. So I just have more trust, I think. And when I do that, I can just let go more. I'm not quite as as I used to be, when they were little, having to control things. I don't do that anymore. I really don't. And I think they feel that. And it feels good.
And I'm sure you'd say your family, would you say, is more rewarding, more fulfilling than your career?
I wouldn't say more fulfilling. It's different.
Different.
They both fill me completely. My family fills me, my friends fill me, my career fills me. If you ask me what's more important in terms of what I would choose to do, always family first, without a doubt. I would give up anything career-wise for my family, without a doubt. But what is more fulfilling? They're all fulfilling. I wouldn't be the same mother that I am if I didn't have the career and the fulfillment that I have. I wouldn't, be the same coach or speaker as I am if I didn't feel balanced and whole in that other part of my life. Because it's like a wheel, right? Anytime one part of it is off, it affects the others. So they're all contributing to my coherence, to my joy level, to my wholeness.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of truth to that. When you're good, usually everything's good, and when you're not in that peak mindset, everything kind of takes a hit.
Yeah, when you're stressed out, there isn't that ease, and when you're not feeling the ease, it does spill over into everything because it changes your perceptions. So everything that might have been pretty minor, all of a sudden feels like a really big deal and something I need to control, right? But when there's more ease, there's just more ease. We don't have to control anything because we're flowing with things and we do the best that we can.
Awesome. One of the things I wanted to ask you about is kind of what your thoughts on like self-awareness and, like I was saying earlier, like comparing yourself to other people. Because a lot of times what happens, I think especially with social media here, since it's so out there, people compare themselves so much to other people, and then there's that relative deprivation where you don't feel like you're good enough. Mm-hmm. You're just kind of seeing the highlights of other people's lives. So how important do you think self-awareness is, and how can people do that?
It's huge. And I still, to this day, of course, like every other human being, get to that point of, I'm not there yet, right? I'll see somebody who's like written the books and the, all this stuff and the podcast, but then I immediately shift that, right? So when we notice that, that's the awareness, right? So it's not like, can we prevent that? Because we're human beings and those thoughts just come from programs. So the point is, when we do become aware, that doesn't feel good. What was I just thinking? Oh yeah, I was comparing myself to that person. And then I can say, okay, thank you, right? Thank you for that awareness. Thank you, unconscious mind, for trying to keep me safe, right? Because there's a part of me that had that thought, maybe because I think if I get there, then maybe I'm going to lose something or whatever the program might be. So I just say thank you, and then I say, okay, how do I want to feel? I want to feel ease. I want to feel that I'm doing the best that I can. I want to learn from that person and model them so that I too can achieve that even faster, right? And so when we're able to change our perspective and again shift from that judgment of focusing on what we don't want and shift towards what we do want, then and only there can we give ourselves that self-love, that self-compassion, and say, it's okay, you are where you are. You are where you are. It's okay where you are. Appreciate where you are. Okay, now where do I want to be? And then focus there. Yeah, but it's always a moment-by-moment choice, right? And that's why coherence and other techniques like that are so powerful, because the moment we notice it, we get coherent again, and then it's easier to access thoughts that are focused towards what we want.
Yeah, I like that. You label your emotions, how you're feeling, and figure it out right away, and then you're not feeling it all the time. And you have to.
Yeah, because when we're let's say I'm thinking I'm not good enough as her or as him, I'm incoherent. So I'm getting, hormones like cortisol into my body that make me feel stressed out. And when I'm stressed out, I try to control and I think of all the evidence of the fact that I'm not good enough, right? So I want to just say, okay, thank you. I noticed that. All right, breathe in and out of my heart. Re-experience a regenerative positive feeling. Get coherent again. Get my brain functioning in a more objective way. Getting my executive functions in my brain working at their best in their most optimal way, and then say, okay, what do I want to feel? What do I want to think? What do I need to do? And then that will come. But when we're in stress, it's not so easy to access that. We just feel kind of miserable.
Yeah, and I think it's important to remember that you really don't know very much about other people's lives and what's going on in there. You really just see the outside. Everyone's got really hard times that you know very little about.
Oh yeah.
And you're just looking at the results.
Mm-hmm. And I see that in my work all the time. Somebody that on the surface is so incredibly successful and has the beautiful children and the beautiful wife or husband or the whatever it might be, and but the reality, sometimes on the inside they feel miserable and they haven't experienced joy, true joy, in years. And so there's the there's a client that I worked with recently that was like that, very successful CEO, very growing company, and just feeling like being that this individual is very overly critical, very negative, very hurtful towards others, and just not knowing how to stop that, and just being miserable all the time and shameful, And so we could look on the surface and say, oh my God, this person's got this huge company and, all the money and the beautiful home and all that stuff. But yet on the inside, they're just unfulfilled and unhappy and disintegrated. I mean, they're just, they're not whole. They're not peaceful. So that's okay, right? And even to that gentleman, I said, you're exactly where you need to be. Having that pain has allowed you to now invest in coaching, or in some cases just read a book or listen to a podcast or do what you need to do to shift that. So that pain was purposeful in a good way. It was serving you to get clear on what you want so you can get energy to make the change and, really just grow as a human being, which is, I believe, what we're here for. To learn from those experiences and just really raise our consciousness, become more whole, more loving towards ourselves and others, experience more love and less of the fear and all the derivatives of fear. And that's what we're here for. So all those negative experiences are our biggest friends.
Yeah, I think on the other end of that, sometimes individuals are so concerned with putting out there, seeking approval from other people. When you're talking about the importance of being in a good state inside here, they're concerned with, how do people perceive me? Do I have the flashy clothes or the cool cars?
Correct.
Putting out those cool Instagram pictures. But yeah, they're not concerned with, how do I feel? Where am I in my mind? That's
correct. And at the very hub, at the very root cause of all problems, and from my experience, is the I'm not good enough, which comes with not really feeling unconditional love for ourselves. And because when we're whole again, when we're able to truly, truly feel unconditional love for ourselves, then and only then can we project that out to others. Yeah. And when we are whole, we give that consciously and unconsciously to everyone in our field. And everybody's better off for it, including ourselves. So that's the biggest thing is to become whole, to self-love, and we can do that just by giving it to ourselves, even if we didn't get it from our parents or from our boss or from our teachers, or to look in the mirror and say, I love you. I love you. I really, really love you. Right? I am enough. I am enough. And to repeat that with passion and look at ourselves in the eye with repetition, our unconscious mind will believe that. It will accept that suggestion and it will become true, because one day we'll just pass by the mirror and we'll be like, I love you. Mm-hmm. And it won't even feel so awkward and weird and kind of icky as it does at the beginning for most people. It'll be like, yeah, heck yeah, of course I love you. Mm-hmm. Because they've programmed that in. Yeah. So we can give that to ourselves. We don't need anybody in order to feel better. We can give that to ourselves. That's the power of the mind.
I'm assuming you've read Mindset by Carol Dweck?
Correct.
You were saying a ton of those things like growth mindset and the unconditional love. Mm-hmm. It's interesting, the growth mindset over fixed mindset, like we were saying earlier. It's viewing failure as learning opportunities, and it's amazing when you can let go of that stress and worry of, I'm not perfect, but I'm just getting better. This is just on the path to where I want to go.
That's right.
Really peaceful.
It all stems from the belief, because if I believe it is possible, and I know it is because of neuroplasticity. The brain is plastic, it's malleable. It changes and grows the more that we learn, the more that we do as we're facing in that direction, right? And so, but the key is that we have to believe that the change is beneficial and that we can change. That the change is beneficial for us. Not just for others, for us. And that we can change. Once we believe we can change, when we have that growth mindset, then we will find a way. We will be persistent. We will be resilient. We will do whatever it takes. We'll ask for challenges. We'll ask for feedback. We'll learn, and we'll grow, and we'll change our behaviors until we get closer and closer and closer to what we want. But first, we got to really prime in that belief. And we can do that by telling ourselves that with emotion, by visualizing ourselves, feeling the way we want to feel, doing what we want to do, having what we want to have. That's available to us. It's up to us if we take the time and the effort to do that. Nobody can do it for us.
Yeah, you have to look inward first. Fix yourself first.
That's right. Love yourself first.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks so much. I'm really glad that we were able to have this conversation, talk about everything that we did. Some takeaways at the end, some actions, because I'm all about the action. I would say look at your daily rituals, figure out what you can change. Maybe you throw some meditation in there and some quick coherence. Learn coherence from heart math, and figure out some of these things that you can do that will put your mind in a better place. and express gratitude for where you are, and the more grateful you are, I think you'll just be in a better place overall.
Correct. And visualizing exactly how you want to feel, actually being there in the future, seeing what you're going to see, hearing what you're going to hear, saying to yourself what you're going to say to yourself, and most importantly, feeling the way you want to feel. That's right.
Awesome. And then another thing is, if you're not where you want to be right now, pick up the phone, call someone who has a job that you're interested in, and put yourself out there. What's the worst that can happen? You get rejected, and then you call the next person. Right?
And at the same time, you tell yourself, I was brave, I was courageous, I took action. And the more you do that, and the more you remind yourself of that, the more your unconscious mind will be even more motivated to take more action. Because failure is just a part of the process. It is. People are going to reject, but it's not rejecting you. It just means that it's not the right fit for them. And so somebody else will help you. Yeah.
Right.
Just keep doing it. Find a way. Keep looking in the direction of what you want, and your brain will give you all the ideas that you need and then some to get to where you want.
Awesome. And then I would say the third thing is make sure you're smiling, being grateful. Take some good deep breaths, but just love life and get out there and get after it. So
you got it. You're awesome.
Thanks so much.
Awesome.
Good to have you here.
Totally a pleasure. I'm so proud of you for what you're doing. Getting this message out. People need it.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. All right. See you guys next time.
That was so much fun. Oh my goodness. You asked such good questions.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. I'm so glad you're getting these things out into the world. I meant it when I said people need it. People are suffering. They don't need to. They don't need to.
Yeah.
They can be free of all that stuff. They just need to, notice what's happening and shift it. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
Simple techniques like we've talked about today. That's all it takes. It doesn't take much.
Yeah, I think people are closer than they realize to being in that better place. And
correct. Oh yeah, it's just a matter of getting themselves vibrationally ready. It's just every day focusing on what you want, taking those actions, feeling those good emotions, right? Shifting the thoughts that don't feel good. It's like a moment by moment decision. I mean, it never ends, right? Even when we get what we want, it still doesn't end because we're still going to want more.
Right.
And then we're wired for more. So that's good. But, give ourselves a lot of love in the process. A lot of people get discouraged. I'm not getting the results yet and all that. And all that does is just add more resistance. Just saying, I'm exactly where I need to be. I'm doing the best that they can.
Yeah, I think it's also because they have it on a timeline. They want to do it quick. People want to be a millionaire tomorrow. But then maybe they think they could do it in a year. And even a year is kind of a short period of time. Yeah.
And even that might be possible. I believe everything is possible.
Sure.
If they truly believe it is. So if there's a part of them that unconsciously saying, no, most people don't do it. Why would I be able to do it? I mean, it's probably going to be hard. It's not very likely. If that is what they're believing, then that is holding them back. If they're 100% congruent, if they know what they want, and there is no resistance, it can happen like this. It literally can.
Yeah.
They can be discovered, and people have done that. So I don't believe it has to take a lot of time.
Right.
If they are in the right vibration, if they've already done the inner work, if they're coherent and they believe in themselves, it can happen. I mean, look at the woman that I mentioned to you, right? Mary, right? She wanted a book deal. She focused on that. Within a couple of days, she got a phone call. She got a book deal. Right? TED Talk. She wanted a TED Talk. She got the idea, I should go out and reach out to these people. Days. She got a TED Talk.
Wow.
Got the opportunity. And of course, it came a few months later and she did a lot of work to, of course, be at her best. Practice and practice, 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 practice. But the idea is that it didn't need to take 10 years. Yeah. It happened just like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because she wasn't resistant to it. She knew what she wanted and she believed that it was possible for her, that it was available to her, that it would be beneficial for her.
And so tell me about the podcast that you want to do. What do you want to focus it on?
I know what it's going to be called. It's going to be called The Mindset Game.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, and it's the concept of kind of moving,
Is that kind of what you've called your workshops? I think I saw a picture that said that, right?
So there's some of them, when I do keynotes, I do the Mindset Game, and I kind of describe that concept. It's just a really cool, easy to understand concept. The workshops are either the human side of change, or I have one on resilience, and that's where I do like a 3 or 4 hour workshop and really take people through a process for belief change, a process that I trademark called Mind Shift. But the Mindset Game is really based on the idea that at any moment we're either moving toward what we want or away from what we want.
Right.
And how do we know? Because of how we feel, right? So if I'm feeling anything less than good, if I'm disappointed, if I'm frustrated, if I'm doubtful, if I'm worried, then I'm looking towards what I don't want. So it's kind of like that game when you were a kid. I don't know if you remember the hot and cold game. Remember, you're getting warmer, or you're getting colder. Same thing, right? So anytime I'm facing what I don't want, anytime I don't feel good, I'm actually getting colder. I'm getting further away from what I'm looking for. Yeah. Or when I'm feeling good, then I'm actually getting warmer because my brain is going to give me the ideas, the instructions, the clues, if you will, to find what I'm looking for.
Cool.
Yeah. This whole life is one game, I believe. It's just a game of alignment. It's a game. It's a game. We get to play the game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because we're always creating, right? The question is, am I creating what I want or creating what I don't want? But I'm always creating.
Right.
With my mind and with my emotions.
And so, what are you thinking about doing? You want to do it just you, or do you want to interview people, or what do you think?
Probably both. I don't know yet. I know for sure there's going to be a component of interviewing people.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are a lot of really cool people that I want to talk to.
And I'm sure you have a ton of cool connections where you'll be able to...
Yeah, I do have a few already that I haven't approached them yet, but I'm sure if I will that they'll say yes. But it's also, some of it is me speaking and just training in a few basic concepts, that will really help people to connect other people's experiences to themselves. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say, from what I've kind of realized and what I think is super smart is just to put a bunch of stuff out there. Because, and I think I said in the text, but when you put stuff out there, you'll kind of find what you like. And I know you've already posted some stuff, but you'll realize like, I like saying this, I don't like saying this. This is a cool format. Oh, I guess people don't really like when I talk for 2 hours or whatever it is. But yeah, just don't, and I'm sure you're pretty, I think people get slowed down because they're self-conscious about what people are going to think. But I'm sure you're going to get
Thank you for that gift. Thank you for reminding me of that.
Yeah.
And thank you for this opportunity. First of all, it reminded me of how fun it is to talk about this stuff. I mean, I was just like, this is just pure joy for me. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And, and I believe the message really needs to get out there, and whoever happens to be listening, to this podcast, whether it's whenever you launch it or even many years from now, right, when it's out there, I have no doubt that whoever will be listening to it, kind of like you're reading Think and Grow Rich, will get exactly what they need at that moment from it. And when they listen to it again at some point, they'll get something different, right? Because they're different.